Hey, Desiree here with Soul Path Astrology and this week's Oracle card readings. Welcome to this week's energy updates. This one is for the week of May 6th to the 12th, Tuesday to Tuesday, because that's how we roll here. Oh my gosh, you guys. So the big one that we're going to probably focus on is actually the full moon that's happening in on the 12th. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that's been going on astrologically. On the 6th, Mercury is in Aries and it goes conjunct Chiron. So this is like speaking to our wounds. There's a lot of other stuff going on astrologically that is encouraging us to go deep. Pluto goes retrograde. This is a deep dive into our shadow work. It's a deep dive into the layers that require us to attend to them. And sometimes really what this work is simply acknowledging some of the fears. Like this is really what's coming up are these fears largely unconscious that have been running the show. There's an invitation into really looking at them like dead in the eye and inviting your conscious awareness to speak to them and to bring them out. Mercury is about communication, right? And so having it in Aries, it's bold. Aries is known for just shooting from the hip and maybe not having a lot of tact. And so Mercury in this sign can often be misunderstood or can come off a little harsh. So maybe our chironic wounds might cause us to speak harshly, but there's an invitation in this to recognizing where we might expect attack or Aries, expect anger, like to notice that bubbling up and to speak to it, but with compassion. Like I read this thing a couple of days ago, and I'm going to butcher the words of it, but it was basically this invitation into recognizing that conflict is always an invitation into deeper intimacy. That rather than being something to avoid, if we can switch our mindset around that and see that conflict or things that feel like they're not jiving isn't something to see as bad or a sign of negativity as much as there's an invitation here for growth and increased intimacy and increased deepening of your own self-awareness. And there was something about that that just landed so beautifully for me. And I hope that it does for you too. Like really shifting our mindset around conflict, shifting our mindset around communicating and inviting in more grace, more kindness and more softness when we're dealing with people who maybe cause us agitation or piss us off. Maybe it's our own agitation that's pissing us off. And there's an invitation to have more compassion around that. May 6th, Venus is in Aries. So this is such a beautiful invitation into that, right? Because Venus is all about grace, kindness, love, compassion. So she joins Mercury in Aries to soothe things off a little bit, to create more of a loving, compassionate, soft way of communicating our wounds, that Chiron, right? And so here's this really cool invitation into this. And in that, finding your tribe, finding people who've done the work that can hold space for you, invitations for you to hold space and be in that space holder, a catalyst for others' healing and growth too, so that we can complete a lot of this. Because personal development, like healing journey, is finite. We aren't meant to just keep rehashing the same things over and over again. I think that as we move forward, we're having some really big paradigm shifts as the whole world is crazy. Because there's always going to be, and this is in the same vein as conflict leads to intimacy, dissolution, destruction leads to rebirth. Like it's so important to take this long view of challenging situations and allow yourself to expand into the recognition that it brings in growth. It brings in expansion. In many ways, it simplifies and yet exponentially improves. And so allowing to yourself to not get stuck in the shitty spot, to not get caught up in the quicksand of the challenge or the conflict, but instead to recognize that maybe at the very bottom of that quicksand, there's actually something really amazing that emerges on the other side of that. Or perhaps in finding tools or asking for help to navigate out of the quicksand, you learn and develop tools and qualities of character you've always wanted to develop in yourself. So thinking of it like that, Let's talk about the full moon, May 12th. This is going to be in Scorpio. So with full moons, it's always in opposition. So we've got the sun in Taurus, which is opposite the moon in Scorpio. This is the values axis. Where this falls in your chart, which houses it falls in, is going to really show you what area of your house this is specifically going to light up. We can certainly do a reading together if you want to deep dive and get more information on that. But with that, full moons are about culminations. Full moons are about completions, and this particular one is actually wrapping up a cycle that started back, I believe it's November 1st, somewhere's around there, when we had the last new moon in Scorpio. And so this is just this incredible completion. I want to invite you to think back what was going on for you in November of 2024, and that this is a completion of that cycle. On top of that, there's another cycle completion that was commenced around March 24th that's now finally doing its finish, because at long, long last, Mars is leaving its shadow retrograde. This is like, well, it was May 3rd that it happened, but you're probably been feeling some increased momentum since May 3rd. I'm recording this on the 6th. So about 3 days ago, things have probably felt like they're starting to move forward in a very real way. And it's just such a gift because Mars has been stuck in Cancer, going back and forth since October. 7 months of all of these projects that maybe you've wanted to start that just haven't really been moving forward. Maybe, again, depending on what house this falls in, maybe it's money that hasn't been moving forward. Maybe it's relationships that hasn't been moving forward. Maybe it's a relocation that hasn't been moving forward. Maybe it's money you've been waiting for, whatever. But now you're going to see, as we move forward, as the month of May progresses forward, because Venus, I believe it's Venus, also comes out of her shadow, and we are finally all forward, except for Pluto. But my friends, Pluto retrograde or Pluto in direct motion, it's very similar energy. Pluto is our transformer. Pluto is our shadow worker. And so whether that's retrograde like it is now, where you're seeing your own shadows, or when it's direct, it's more like seeing the collective shadow. Pluto's a big outer planet. It's going to have that impact no matter what, whether it's inner or outer. But having these two personal planets finally out of their shadow periods, moving direct, I think you're going to really feel a lot of forward movement, forward motion. Yeah. So with that, let's jump forward. Let's talk about your cards. If this was your card, this is card one. Boop-a-doo-boo. We have got the 9 of Cups. Before I start on this, I want to invite you, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you do find value in these. Comment. I absolutely love hearing about your comments. And if this lands for you, tell me all about it. The 9 of Cups, this is wishes granted. This is such a lovely card. This is all the world is a banquet, and most people are eating it. Like, they're starving to death. And what the motto behind that is, or what it's pointing towards, is this invitation into really checking in. And this is going to tie in with the Chiron wounding stuff that I talked about earlier. Where might you have patterns that you're holding around making do, around believing in lack, in feeling under resourced, in expecting the worst? This card is like, no, wishes granted. Start shifting your mindset towards really and it's not bypassing. There's a thing in the quantum field, where instead of recognizing that the world is material, because science has even shown this, that there actually is no material anything, that even what you think are solid things, if you get down small enough, is just light vibrating. So in that, then that means that there is no stuff, that all there is light, all there is energy, and that you can deliberately, and if you're on my channel, this is going to probably land for you, access your own creative faculties as imagination, as dreams. And we've also got Neptune. I didn't speak about it earlier, but Neptune is really playing heavily in the energetic field right now. And this is all about dreams. This is about anchoring into, at a quantum level, the kind of world that you wish to see. It's about letting go. This ties in again to that we're not on a perpetual healing journey. At some point, we get to step into creation. At some point, the rubble of what no longer serves you has basically, like, the dust has settled on it. And now you get to create intentionally, on purpose, the kind of life to anchor in and align with the energy of the kind of life that you want to see happen. wishes granted. This is affirming for you that you have that capacity within you. The invitation is to spend time every day connecting to that. And maybe a takeaway for today with that particular card is to begin a practice, make a commitment to yourself to, in the morning, before you get out of bed, before you check your phone, before you do anything, while you're still just sort of transitioning out of that liminal dream space, invite in and create this beautiful practice of aligning to and attuning to the vibration of safety and security. That full moon, that Taurus Scorpio axis, that is very much about values. It's about security. It's about safety. It's about all the ways that we try to create that for ourselves, whether that's through money or not changing the fixed signs. I like to stay put. So where can you invite in security? How can you align with safety in a really big, expansive, maybe a way you've never really allowed yourself to consider? Maybe the universe is actually conspiring in your favor. Maybe there's no way to screw this up. Maybe your big audacious dreams are your big audacious dreams because you are meant to live them, to be in service to them, to call them in and to align yourself with them. So, yeah. If you'd like a container to help you attune to that, to navigate it, to see where the stuff might be falling specifically in your actual personal chart, I would love to do that. If you just want a card reading where we can deep dive into an area that's itching to scratch, let's do that. You can find a link to my calendars for both of those below. In the meantime, my sweet friend, know that I love you and we'll see you next Tuesday. Ha ha. All right, moving on to card 2. If this was your selection, this is what you've got, the Lover's card. Woo! Who doesn't love the Lover's card? I love the Lover's card. So this often bespeaks of a relationship that is either in your life that's about to take a massive up level or a big shift or a deepening, or it could be an invitation into a fated relationship, one you've been calling in. One might argue that you and the other have maybe you said it in the future and that it's now arriving. It can also speak to your inner relationship. And one of the really important things about this card, and I've spoken to this many times and it bears repeating, we have spirit or the universe or higher self up here. We have the feminine. So this is our heart looking to our higher self for inspiration. The masculine is looking. So this is the doing. This is the making things happen. This actually also is going to tie into the third card. So you may want to watch all 3 of these. But the masculine doing, the divine masculine, as it is inspired by the feminine when she is inspired by the divine higher self, this combination of energy flow is nothing short of miraculous. This is where this deep capacity for creativity emerges, where it's aligned, where it's in greater service to the whole, because the heart is resonant with all that is, right? The heart is spirit, sees the whole holistic picture, and whatever is inspired from that place is in service to the whole greatest picture. And so this is about dropping any fears of you failing, or dropping maybe any fears of worrying about if what you want is good enough, if what you want is valuable. Like, if you legitimately get excited about it, if this is like one of those giddy, childlike, innocent pleasures or joys or excitements, maybe you get true tears when you think about it, this is so your work. And this card is really encouraging you to tap into that, again, trusting the really cool dynamic that happens when the masculine and the feminine dance together. They emerge like the double helix of our DNA. I mean, these symbols are symbols for reasons. There's deep in it is encoded the meaning of life, how creation works. And so if this was your card, what an exciting time for you to be in the state of creativity, and how that even ties into the first card about wishes granted. Like, trust that your wishes are being granted. Trust your creative impulses are in alignment, and understand that you need to attune with your own inner masculine and your own inner feminine energies and find alignment with those before you expect to attract the same externally. There's something really potent about finding that sense of self-advocacy and willingness to do what needs to get done, when it's in service to the heart, it's work that you could do for hours. It's work that feels aligned. Like, this isn't the stuff that makes you slog through and kind of low-key hate your life. This is the stuff that makes you want to jump out of bed. And so if this was your card, what a beautiful, cool of affirmation that you are already in cohesive alignment with yourself, and or an affirmation of a relationship that is in cohesive alignment, and or it's a symbol of the fact that it's coming to you and that it's on the horizon very shortly. In particular, with all of this forward momentum energy, astrologically speaking, this is like we're entering into a new chapter here, you guys, where creativity is so much more fun, where you can allow and trust that it doesn't all have to be this heavy slog, that it can be easy, it can flow, it can be in loving service. Yeah. So we'll leave that there too. If you want to deep dive, again, you guys, I'm always going to keep harping on this. You can certainly find the link to my calendar below. If this landed, I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, in the meantime, enjoy this week for you, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Okay, here we go. So this one now is for card 3. If this was your selection, this is what you've got. Boop-a-doo-boo, the Emperor, the divine masculine. Let's feel into the divine masculine. So this is the energy of self-advocacy. This is the energy of like the rock, like that steady, aligned, balanced, supportive, boundaries, that kind of energy. It's very Saturnian, very Saturn in its scope. And there's a quality of like assertion and power in this too. And so the Emperor is asking you to do a deep dive, a little self-reflection between aggression and assertiveness or assertion. Like, really contemplate on that and feel into that. What does it mean to be assertive? What does it mean to sit in your kingship, in your sovereignty, and just hold that calm, collected certainty? This is about having boundaries where you just stand in them. You don't need to attack. You don't need to shame. It's not an outward making others honor it. It's like a deep-seated residing in them. And if others are not abiding by your clearly stated boundaries, by what you clearly outlined you're available for, maybe it's your own inner boundaries. There's an invitation here to ask yourself, where do you overrun them? Is this something you're ready to release or let go of or liberate? Been making an effort to switch that. The word release, you think about that, you're releasing it as in re-renting it. So that's actually the opposite of liberate, right? So yeah, I'm making an effort to re-examine some of the language that I use, and that would definitely be one of them that I would suggest, if this is your card, that there might be something valuable in connecting with the kind of language that you use and checking in with yourself. How does that feel? Does this land? Does it resonate? Am I available for this sort of language? It's not necessary to get obsessive about it, but just be curious about what is important to me. What kind of language do I like to use to assert what I'm available for? And what kind of language do I use to allow others to understand exactly, where the bar is to play, what height of ride they need to be, how high they have to be to ride, right? And this is the thing about boundaries. It's not about forcing others to adhere to them. It's about clearly outlining them and then adjusting yourself accordingly based on the feedback from others. So if they don't want to play in your sandbox with the rules you've clearly outlined, then you can leave the sandbox, right? Or you can make the rules of getting in the sandbox to begin with extremely clear, right? I mean, for some of us, we might have some people in there that takes a little bit of extra work to get them out because we let them in when we weren't particularly clear about our boundaries. But for many of you, I'm expecting that you've done a lot of that work over the last 6 to 7 months, and you're now finding yourself in a position of a cleared sandbox where what's in it are the tools, the toys, and the people that you actually want to have near you. And this is just such a reminder, like, step into your sovereignty. You have so earned the right to have your boundaries Every one of us is entitled to what we need to feel safe and secure in the scope of what's available for us. And it's the higher octave of the Four of Pentacles, which can have a lot to do with security, financial security, material security. So the Emperor is like inviting you into just reconnecting with this energy before you go forward in the day, before you speak, before you act. Connect with that inner sovereignty, invite in the divine masculine. There's an opportunity here right now, I believe, in the world to call in this higher octave of the masculine energy, this really strong, confident, but inspired by, like the Lover's card, inspired by the heart, masculine energy that goes forth into the world, having filtered divine inspiration through heart into doing, right? And so that's what this card is leading into. It's pointing towards, if you are a man and you have been looking for ways to step more fully into your power, like some part of you has maybe been recognizing that you don't want to be a bully, which is one option, but you're also really tired of being emasculated and neutered, basically. And you're looking to, like, how do I connect to that deeper place? Like, I want to be met on a really deep level. I'm ready to attract in a partner that I feel equal to, who inspires me, who I feel proud of, who I want to support, where there's this mutual deep respect and reverence for each other. Then that work begins inside. And I know a few men's groups that I would recommend. So if that's something you want, I'm happy to pass that information on. Just DM me and I will do so. If you're a woman or in your feminine essence, because of course this isn't necessarily about the plumbing, it's about the energetic resonance that you hold. So by plumbing, I mean indoor, outdoor plumbing. Like, it doesn't matter what your genitalia is. What matters is what vibrational resonance are you aligned with. So if you're feminine in your resonance and you would like to attract in this masculine energy, how do you step into your feminine? For many of us, this has been a really scary journey about vulnerability and about having to create really strong self-advocacy in order to be able to connect to our soft, squishy heart and voice what our bodies are telling us if we don't feel comfortable, if we're feeling overwhelmed, if maybe some of our behavior patterns have to do with proving ourselves rather than knowing our deep worth, knowing that we are miracles. So as you do that inner work, though, and you learn that self-advocacy and you begin to show up for yourself, that's that inner masculine, that inner emperor shows up, then the empress in you can arrive, her creative faculties, her softness, and her capacity to connect with that deeper divine source, because there's a relaxed openness there. That's this beautiful invitation we're stepping into. And I really see partnerships right now moving in that direction. I think more and more we're going to see people coming together that are holding these poles in a way that is just like this much higher octave, where it's not codependent, it's interdependent, and it's highly creative as we invite in this more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, as our wishes are granted, like card 3 or card 1 suggests, right? And to really begin to create this most beautiful world, this generous, loving, balanced, holistic, interconnected way of seeing our own being, seeing ourselves in our community, seeing ourselves as we live on this planet with with the animals, with the water, with the soil, how it's all deeply interconnected, requires that we step up. We all need to grow up into these higher octaves of this divine masculine, divine feminine, energetic tone. And so, yeah, there's that. If you want a container for that, if you'd like some coaching around how to do that, I would love to help. You can always find my link below to my calendar for both a card reading or a soul path reading, which we can also talk about coaching packages. In the meantime, enjoy that full moon on the 12th. She's gonna be intense. Know that I love you, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.